Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to install the Java Enterprise Edition so that we can program in JSP and Servlets. And so if I go into the 401 folder and I click on examples and I come down to the JSP folder, I see a simple kind of to-do list here called the install instructions.txt. So I'm going to run through these instructions for you. There are two components that we need to install. We need to install the Apache Tomcat and we also need to install Eclipse in order to run JSP and Servlets. So we can do a couple of things first. We already have the JDK downloaded. You already have Java installed because we've been using Java from the beginning of this course. We've been using Java. So I know we have that installed correctly. So we're going to need to download and install the Eclipse IDE browser for Enterprise Edition. So if I go to open up, I am in a web browser here. Let's just open up a new one here. And I click in, I type in download Eclipse for Java EE. And what do I want to download? If I click on here, Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers, I see this package is kind of old. Wow, 2014. They don't call it the Java EE anymore. They call it Enterprise Edition. If I click on here, I see this is the one I should have installed prior to now, because we've been doing the Java IDE for Java developers. You have that one already. Keep that one installed on your computer. And we want to go to the one underneath it where it says Eclipse IDE for Enterprise Java developers. So I'm going to click on this one here. This is the one I want for Enterprise Java developers. So Eclipse IDE for Enterprise Java developers. Be certain that you're getting the Enterprise Java developers version. So I have a 64-bit. I'm on a Mac. So I'm going to go ahead and start that download. And I'm going to open up another web browser and show you what you need. You also need Tomcat. So I'm going to type in download Tomcat. Let's go for the latest and greatest. Let's go for Tomcat 9. We're just up to 9. I guess we're just up to 9. It doesn't really matter what version of Tomcat you get. 9, it looks like the current. Oh, it looks like 10. It looks like they have a 10, but let's just do 9. Oh no, that's pretty good here. All right, so on the tomcat.apache.org, make sure you go to this site where you have Apache Tomcat, because you want both Apache Tomcat is what you want, and Apache Server all into one. Okay, so looks like I just loaded the same page twice. If you go down to the binary distribution over here, you'll see that you've got a couple of them here. You got the source code. We don't need the source code. We just need the binary. We have the core. And it looks like we've got a Windows version, or if you're on a Mac, you need this one here that says zip on the top. If you're on a Windows version, you can select the 32 or the 64-bit or the Windows installer. If you're on a Mac, like I am right now, I would click on the zip one right here and download the zip one. Let's just see what we're downloading. Apache Tomcat. There we go. When we download it, it looks like the other download finished as well, which is good. When we download it, we should see a folder here. And in the folder, we've got a bin folder. And in the bin folder, we've got a Tomcat Apache jar. Yeah, there it is there. Tomcat jar file that we're going to load. We actually have a couple of them. So what we need to do is drag this guy into a common folder. I'm going to put it in the applications folder on my desktop. Excuse me, on my system here. I'm going to drag it and stick it in here. So I have a Apache Tomcat 9033, and it's in my applications folder. And so the next thing I'm going to do then is go ahead and double click on the Eclipse that I downloaded. And if you're on a Windows system, you might need to run through an install. For a Mac, we're just going to drag the little icon over. So we see this little Eclipse icon. I'm actually going to label, well, you can change the name of it. If you already have an Eclipse in your applications folder or installed somewhere on your computer, drag it into a different folder I don't believe I have it on here. If you drag it in on a Mac and it says, would you like to replace your current Eclipse version? Don't do it, because if you do that, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to end up replacing your Java Eclipse version with the EE version, which you don't necessarily want to do. You want to have them both. So I'm copying the Eclipse version to my applications folder as well. So I have Apache now, and I have Eclipse. So I've done the Eclipse for enterprise Java developers. I've done the Apache Tomcat. Now it looks like it's ready to start. So if you need these instructions, it's going to be in the JSP folder of the class. I'm going to leave that open because we got some little test files we're going to play with in a few minutes here. Let's see, I don't need this anymore. I got my Eclipse in here. It's in my applications folder. It's going to be wherever you stuck it on your system. I'm going to go ahead and throw this away. I don't need that. Such the minimalist. So let's see. Let's go ahead and run it. Just saw it. There it is, Eclipse. So go ahead and double click on that icon to start it up. And here we go. We're verifying the Eclipse is running. Probably going to get a little warning message. Yeah, here it is. It's been downloaded from the internet. Yes, I do want to open it. Okay. It might even ask me to pick out a workspace folder. Most likely it's going to do that. We'll see what happens. It does take a few minutes when it first installs, because it's doing a lot of configuration checks. After it has run a couple times, it should come up a little faster. So this one says Eclipse Workspace. Well, this is the same folder I was using for my Java file. So instead, I'm just going to change it a little again. I'm going to say Work EE instead. That way, I know I've got a Eclipse. I'm going to put the projects in a separate folder. It doesn't really matter what you call the folder. It just, you should make a different one. Actually, here, I'll call it Eclipse EE. There we go. And then I'm going to use this as the default folder, so don't ask me again. So I'm going to press that one, and I'm going to click on Launch. And now it's loading up a little bit faster, which is good. Okay. Let's see. It's still probably making the folder. See my little wheel going around in a circle a few minutes ago there. There we go. So now we're looking pretty good here. I don't like this opening screen, so I'm going to click this guy. No, it says always show the screen. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click on the workbench up here on the right hand corner so I can get to the workbench. Now let's see if this actually is the EE version. So if I go into the File menu, I know it's the EE version when I go over to New and I see Dynamic Web Project, and I see Enterprise Java Beam Project, and I see Servlets on here, and static web pages, and a bunch of other cool stuff over here. All right, so now I know that I have the correct version. If yours looks like your other version and it says start a Java project and it says start, it doesn't say anything about web projects on there, it means you have the wrong version of Eclipse and you need to go back and install the correct version, and you want the Enterprise Edition. So let's test it out. I'm going to create a dynamic web project. So I've got dynamic web project over here. Click on that little dynamic web project. It should come up with a little GUI for me here. I'm going to call this one Hello Web. And in my Hello Web, I see I've got it's going to put me in the Eclipse EE. This is the workspace folder. It's going to be called Hello Web. Don't put any spaces in the name. But my target runtime is empty. It says none. Oh, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to need to create a new runtime. So the runtime is going to run in a web browser. It's actually going to run on my Apache server. And so I need to create a new instance of my server for my Apache 9. So I'm going to click over here where it says New Runtime and pick out the Apache version that you have. Oh, look at that, 9 is in there. Okay, so this is from the configuration. So these are the versions that are supported in this particular version of Java 2 EE. So Apache does support it. Looks like 3.2 all the way up to 9. So don't do the 10, which is a good reason why I didn't do the 10. I was thinking about that ahead of time. It will support 9. So I have Apache Tomcat 9. I don't know what these other ones are. Geronimo server. We're using Apache. Looks like it supports cloud services now too, which is good. We're using Apache, so it should be at the top of the list. Scroll down to the version that you downloaded. If you did 9, you did 9. Create a new local server. You want to click on the little button there. It says create a new local server. We want to create the new local server, and it's going to be Apache 9. So click on next. And we're going to call it Apache 9, but we have to pick out, well, where is it? The Apache installation directory. So over here on the right hand side of the screen where it says browse, click on the browse. Oh, looks like I had Apache 8 in here, actually. Perhaps in a previous life. Let's go back here. We don't want to use 8. I want to, let's see. Let's just go back here. Where did I put it? I put it in the applications folder. And this one was Apache 9. And we want the lib folder. There it is. So the lib folder of Apache 9. So what I did is I clicked on the directory applications where I had the have the Apache installed, because I dragged the folder. Wherever you drag the folder over to, find the folder. And mine was the Apache Tomcat 9 folder. And what we really want, I think we either want the lib or we want the bin. I'm going to make an experiment here. I'm just going to click on the Apache Tomcat folder and click open. See what happens. It looks like I can just take the outer folder. This is the Tomcat installation directory, so the outer folder works. I think the libraries we want are actually in lib, but this should work just fine. Install JREs. We have the JRE. Looks like I have 2 versions. I have the 8 and I have the 6 on there. I want to use my 8, which is what I've been using so far in this course. Remember, we installed the JRE earlier on in the course with the JDK. That's the JRE. So go ahead and select one. If mine didn't say something, I said Workbench Default. You probably could just leave it on Workbench Default, which would probably just be just fine. All right, so I'm going to click on Finish. When I click on Finish, it takes me back, and now it should say under the runtime, target runtime, now it should say Apache Tomcat 9. So this is web version 4, and the configuration is the default configuration for Apache 9. And it's a good starting point for working with Apache. Okay, good. Click on Next. We do want to use the SRC, the source code folder, so that's fine. You don't have to click on it, by the way. I clicked on it, but you don't have to click on it. Click off of it, whatever. Click Next. Select this little button here. It says Generate Web XML Deployment Descriptor. Go ahead and select that because we want a default web, just in case we want to do something with this here, which we're probably going to want to put some JSP in there. So, and then go ahead and click on Finish. When you click on Finish, this is going to take a few minutes because it has to install the dynamic web module facets. It has to, well, actually what it's doing is configuring your Apache to work with the project, and it's also creating a server for you. So we'll have an Apache server that's going to show up here momentarily. If you do have problems with it, it will give you an error message. This did not. Looks like it's working okay. I'm going to get rid of this screen here, down here on the bottom. There we go. I clicked on servers because I want to see the server status going on here. I should have 2 things show up in the Project Explorer on the left-hand side of the screen. One is my servers. In my servers, I have Tomcat 9.0 that I created. And that's going to be a local host. So if you have Skype software and stuff running on your computer or instant messaging and stuff that's using a port 80, I think it's 8080 actually, then you might need to switch around the ports or just turn off your Skype or turn off your Zoom or whatever it is you're using on there. So let's go into the Hello Web. I want to see if this actually works. If I open it up and I need something to run, let's see, in web content, I don't actually have anything in web content. Web content looks a little empty right now. So let's go ahead and put something in the web content. So I'm going to click on web content. I'm going to go to File, New, and what I want to put is a JSP file in there. And here's one of my little quirks about this here. On the menu, there's no JSP file in here at all. There's servlets, but I don't want to do a servlet. I want to do a JSP. So I'm going to click on the other down here on the bottom of the screen. And way on the bottom of this screen here, I want to go all the way to the bottom and open up the web folder here. And what I want to create is a JSP file. So I'm going to click on JSP file. That's in web. That's in the bottom of the screen for this little wizard here. So they couldn't hide this anywhere else, I guess. So we can also put, let's do JSP. Click on JSP file and then click on next. We need to give it a name. I'm going to call this hello. So we're going to call this hello.jsp. And I'm going to click on next. And yeah, HTML5 is fine. Click on finished. So now you see in the web content folder, I have a file that's now called hello.jsp. It looks like an HTML file. It looks like I also need to increase my fonts a little bit here too so you guys can see it. But it looks pretty straightforward. You might be able to understand the HTML part if you've taken a web class before. But I want to run this to make sure that it works. So I'm going to right mouse click here on hello, and I'm going to say run as, and I'm going to say run on the server. Now my server's not started yet. If you notice down here on the bottom it says it's stopped. So I'm going to hopefully check the status to see what happens here. So I selected run on server, choose an existing server. Well, we have this one here, but it's stopped. The state says that it's stopped, so it's going to start automatically, hopefully. Always use the server when running this project. You could click on that if you want to. I'm probably not going to click on it right now because, well, I don't know. I want it to show up again. You don't actually have to click on the next. You can just click on finished at this point. If you click on finished, you're going to see a bunch of red stuff, and it's going to look ugly. But then you're going to see up here on the top, it's going to say, oh, it looks like it loaded, actually. It started, and it's synchronized. But we don't have anything in this web page. So it's running hello.jsp. So let's put something in the web page, actually. It does say insert title here. So in the title tag, I'm actually going to put a title. Let's do this work. So in the title tag, I'm just going to say hello world JSP. And then in the body, I'm going to put like an H1. If you don't know this, I'm just typing in HTML text. Yes, we are successful. The file is running. Now that should show up on the screen in a H1 tag. Just to make sure we see it running, I'm going to change the color. I'm going to say font color equals red. Let's put that in there. I'm going to close the font. There we go. Oops. There we go. So I've got an opening font tag. I got a closing font tag over here. This is HTML code, by the way. This is going to be an H1. All right, so if I come over here and I say, well, it doesn't look like it's any different. And I can refresh it, but nothing's going to happen. Instead, I'm going to close it and I'm going to run it again. So I need to load it back into the Apache, and I need to load it up. So it does not refresh itself in real time. So I'm going to go run on the server. Now the server is already started, and it's going to ask me, because it's been modified and it's still open elsewhere, closing will not lose any changes. Would like to save. Yes, I do want to save it. Do not prompt to save or unclose when it's still open elsewhere. If I click on here, it'll tell me not to. It'll suppress that message. But it meant because I didn't save it and it was opened elsewhere, so I saved it. So now when I click on finish, now I see, yes, we are successful. The file is running. That's great. So because it is running, I'm going to show you something cool here. I'm going to copy this URL out of here, and I'm just going to go to my web browser, and I'm going to stick this URL right here in the web browser. And guess what? I'm running it outside of Eclipse now too. So yes, we are successful. The file is running. It's running on localhost, which is running on 8080. You might need to change your port to 8081 or 8090 or something different if you have a lot of other software running on your computer that's taking up the port. So if anything else is running on 8080 on your computer, and what would be running would be Skype and instant messaging and a bunch of other really communication software runs on the 80 port. That might be causing a problem. If it is causing a problem, then you are going to want to change the port, and you'll have to troubleshoot that. But my localhost port 8080 is open. My Apache server is running on that port by default, and I'm in my Hello Web project, and I'm running hello.jsp. And so I can run it inside of the Eclipse. This is compatible with Safari on my, which is my default web browser. You can run it, let's say you don't like, I don't know what else do I have on here. Do I have Firefox on here? Oh, I had Firefox. Here's Firefox. I should run in Firefox just fine too. Let's see. It's been centuries since I've opened up Firefox, and why is Firefox so big? Let's see. Let's just make this a little bit smaller. Looks like it's having probably because I loaded it in twice. There we go. Oh, there we go. Now it's working. It looks to be a little, what is this? It looked to be a little big. I saw a little percentage there to make it smaller, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It does work in here just fine. It looks like you haven't started Firefox in a while. Yeah, that is true. Okay, so I'm not going to upgrade my Firefox right now, but I'm just letting you know, works with Firefox as well. Probably work with any browser you got, Chrome, Internet Explorer if you're still using that. Anything you got, it will work. So you don't put the ww's in there, you just run localhost :8080 and then put the path in, which is hello, and you actually, just the no-brainer, just copy it from here. This one does say HTTP, so I mean, this one doesn't say it, but I pasted it in there, so it probably just suppresses it. Okay, so this is hello.jsp. It is a JSP file that looks very similar, and the next lecture I'm going to go over JSP and talk about what JSP actually is. But the hello world.jsp file, what you want to do before you go on to the next lecture is make sure that you have the Java EE installed correctly, and that you can do exactly what I just did and create hello.jsp, which is the hello world for JSP. And in a future video, we will install and run JSP as well as servlets. For right now, don't worry about the contents of this JSP page. That's what we're going to get into next in the next video. So go ahead and download Tomcat, download Eclipse, install the two of them. The process is the same for a Windows computer as it is for a Mac. If you do have problems running it and you do get like messages that come up when you go to run it, make sure first of all that you're running it, you're running it on the server, and you have the server correctly. And what you want to do is never remove this. Never remove servers. Leave the servers running. You'll add new projects to it, and don't remove the servers. If this isn't showing up, then your Apache probably isn't installed correctly or configured correctly. You can create a new project and use the same server. You do not have to recreate the server. So as an example, let me show you something real quick here. So let's say I'm going to close this guy so I don't confuse him. Close the project. I can go File, New, Dynamic Web Project, and I can say again, and see it just shows up here automatically for me. So you only have to create the server one time. The target runtime is right there. If I go next, generate the deployment descriptor, and I'll talk about that in a future lecture. Click on finish. Now you can see I've got another project. I'm still only going to have one server folder because the servers are what I'm running it on, and the projects are the web pages and things I'm adding to it. So this allows me to, and here we go, we have another one. The web content stores the web content, as you might imagine. We can also put Java resources in here in the Java folder. We'll see that in another video. But to duplicate that again, just in case you need a refresher, if I go into other, I go down and I clicked on JSP file, click on next, call it something like, I don't know, again, .jsp, click on next. Actually, you could just click on finish, that's fine. You do need to add something in the again. So you do need to put something in here, like I work. And then let me save it this time. When you run it, make sure you're running the file. So click on the file, right mouse click, run as, and run on the server. So this one says it was started, and it is started because I ran it a few minutes ago. So because it is started, it says, would you like to restart it or continue without restarting? Doesn't really matter at this point. If I had made significant changes and I was running a Java file, a server file, we're going to want to restart it. You could just restart it each time and click on Remember My Decision. Or you could just run it on if it's just a JSP file, it doesn't really matter. You can just run it on the server. You don't have to restart it each time. But here it is. It says, I work. This should happen for you. If it does not happen for you, then you need to troubleshoot why it's not happening. If you can't figure it out, send me a message and I can try and point you in the right direction. But this is what you need to do in order to continue on to the next step. Don't try to write the JSP files until you have a working server. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Take some time, download the appropriate software, install it, configure it. I'm going to switch around my fonts before the next video so this shows up a little bit bigger, and get rid of the line numbers because I don't like that either. So go ahead and customize it. Leave your other Java application running, your other Eclipse Java program. You can run multiple versions of Eclipse on the same computer without removing it. You don't have to use Apache 9 if you already have Apache from another class. If you've taken the web development class and you already have like Apache 7 or 8, that's fine. It doesn't matter what version of Eclipse, as long as it's the Enterprise Edition, then you're set to go. So configure your system, and I will see you in the next video for some JSP programming. Talk to you soon.